All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Battlefield Podcast, episode 161. We're back. It's been more than a month, maybe two. I honestly don't remember. Last time we had a very frank discussion about Battlefield 4 and its issues. This time we decided to break it up a bit and talk about some of the new DLC info that came out. And we're still going to have a reunion podcast of that same panel that we had last time. Once the game gets better. No, we'll have to do it eventually because I keep saying that and it keeps getting pushed further and further out. So eventually that will happen, probably the next one. Kind of hopeful that Naval Strike will bring some positive things for everybody to talk about that we can do that with. But we had Naval Strike live stream earlier this week, so we have a bunch more information, much more stuff to talk about, especially for carrier assault mode. And we'll just chit-chat a bit, Tim and I.
Yeah.
So, you told me something earlier. You said that the map names of the next two DLCs. What was it? China. See, I already forgot. I asked you before, and I knew I was going to fuck up the name.
Dragon's Teeth and Final Stand. So, a guy on the Battlefield subreddit, not the Battlefield 4 subreddit, but the Battlefield subreddit, said that he got this from EA's Confluence page. Confluence page, whatever the hell that is. I have no idea what EA's Confluence page is, but he says that the map names for Dragon's Teeth are going to be Propaganda, Waterfront, Urban Garden, and Marketplace. And then the release date is going to be May the 3rd for premium, and for public will be May the 17th. That gives us not even a full month between Naval Strike and Dragon's Teeth, so that'll give us just the month of April.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a little over a month. So because we're getting it Tuesday, so yeah, so a little over a month. And then for Final Stand, these are just proposed names. Apparently, they're not final yet. But for Final Stand, we have Arctic Research, Sub Base, Walker Factory, and Titan. So with these names, it's kind of funny because if you think about 2142. Everything was in a futuristic ice age. So you have Arctic Research. You also have Walker Factory and Titan. So the Walkers were the large mechs that could walk around in Battlefield 2142, and the Titans were the large aircraft carriers that were flying in the map that what carrier assault is based off of now in Battlefield 4. Titan mode is what we had in 2142. So the release dates for these premium is September 2nd, and for public will be September 16th.
You know what's interesting? When you told me this earlier, I was like, well, Titan could also just refer to one of the carriers that was in the single-player campaign. But when you mentioned Walker Factory and all the other Arctic stuff, I wonder, I'm actually kind of curious about how they're going to do that. Because if they're going to tie it into like a 2142 type of...
like a precursor, kind of like this is kind of what happened, kind of like, I don't know, like I this kind of makes me feel like it's going to be similar to what they did with Bad Company 2 in the Vietnam pack, how it had
I guess that was way out of line.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with the game, but they kind of wanted to bring in Battlefield Vietnam into current generation of gaming. So they could potentially do that with Battlefield 4. They could make an expansion pack that was completely different from the Battlefield 4 line and could tie in with 2142.
That would be interesting. I mean, it is the last one, so if they're going to do it with the DLC, that would be a good one to do it on, I suppose. Now, chat's already mentioned this, and this was one of the first things that I thought of when you mentioned the sort of leaked or proposed or tentative release dates or whatever of those DLCs, is that boy, that's fucking soon.
Yeah, but I mean, like that. But that's how it's been the entire entire season of DLCs.
And I know that's a topic we're going to talk about on His and Hers, which is a new series on the YouTube channel as well. Just like the amount of information and how condensed the DLC release schedule has been. I looked at the BF3 release schedule for the DLCs yesterday, and there were literally at least a solid 3 to 6 months between each of them.
Yeah, sounds about right.
We've had barely 2, if that. So
I mean, hell, Xbox One got 2 DLCs off the get-go.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of shit ramming down the throat.
Well, there's been rumors about more Battlefield games, Battlefield 5, this whole Battlefield Police game rumor.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know.
So someone, I was looking in the subreddit and someone made a joke about Battlefield 5 is going to be the Canadian simulator. I thought that was funny because they
What?
said like they won't do anything.
Let me just enjoy my coffee. Canadian simulator. I have that every day, 24/7. I wouldn't pay for it.
So
No, but that will be, I don't know. I mean, there have been rumors about them wanting to go to a yearly release schedule or whatever for Battlefield games with 2 development studios working on them, similar to the Call of Duty franchise. But
right.
it just seems, everything seems a little bit rushed. But like I said, we'll talk about it more and we'll find out more in the future. I guess what we really should talk about is Naval Strike, which we all knew was coming. Actually, a lot of us thought it was going to be released this week. And then that big thing that was going to happen turned out just to be a live stream, which was it was nice because we actually got to see like an hour worth of solid game footage. But
Yeah.
I had to chuckle because on Monday they released a teaser trailer for a trailer.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. I'm not sure what they were thinking. I think DICE's plan was to release it that day, and then EA was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 no, 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 no."
And somebody
no,
was,
you're
"Shit, we
releasing
have
it
to
when we
tease
tell you to
something."
release it. Yeah, because I feel like our friends over the video team in DICE were like, "Oh shit," because they seemed pretty upset. Because I was watching tweets from Roland and from Noken and from all those guys, and they were kind of upset that they didn't get to release it that day. So I think they had to quickly make some type of teaser for that trailer.
That's sort of what it felt like. I mean, the teaser literally showed very little, but it was, again, it's a teaser for a teaser, so how much could it possibly have shown? The actual trailer was kind of cool, though.
It was really well done. I think it's one of the best ones they've done so far.
I see a lot of reactions from people on Twitter about that trailer and about how cool the trailer looks and how much they wish the game was more like that.
Right.
But, I mean, holding out some hope that Naval Strike's going to be good. We get 4 new maps. We already got a bunch of new weapons that we can unlock already. In fact, most people already have.
Yeah.
All except for one you were able to unlock before the DLC even comes out. I actually don't like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because it takes away a lot of the fun from the DLC. Yeah, you get a new vehicle, which is just a bumper car, aka the
we'll talk
the
about
hovercraft.
that one because I saw some things I didn't like.
And then you get the maps, and that's it. So you've already got all the weapons for it. And this was kind of a thing that happened towards the end of Battlefield 3 life cycle, is that we were starting to get these unlocks early. And we were like,
they do
oh,
that by
this is so
mistake
cool.
once?
It was by accident. It was
Yeah.
accidentally put into the patch.
Yeah.
And no one kept it. They don't think they kept it locked. It just happened. And I think they caught a trend, and they just said, well fuck it. We'll stick with it. But I think it takes a lot away from the DLC. Yeah, these assignments aren't the worst in the world. Some of them kind of suck. But I think it takes away from the hype of the actual DLC because, we enjoy our weapons. We enjoy customizing our characters.
I actually would prefer that only one of the assignments required you to do something on the Naval Strike maps, which is why you can't get it yet. I would prefer if all the assignments required you to do something in the new game mode or on the new maps or something more related to that DLC so that it's not just, right now it's just like, oh, here's 4 new weapons, and
Right.
DLC comes out next week.
Yep.
So, Carrier Assault, which is what the live stream was all about. Have we talked about it before? I know we talked about Titan Mode. We made a couple of videos on it.
Yeah, we made some assumptions
explaining
about Carrier Assault and how we thought it would work, and then we also explained Titan Mode because we thought at some point in vanilla BF4 we were going to get it because there was talks about it, so we explained what Titan Mode was, but we actually haven't talked about Carrier Assault yet.
No, and Titan Mode in 2142, for some history, was probably one of the most unique game modes, right? Even up to this point, I would have said it was one of the most unique game modes in the Battlefield series. Everything else has been done elsewhere in other games under different names, but Conquest, Rush, Capture the Flag, TDM, obviously those are all sort of the staples of first-person multiplayer games.
Right? Yeah, they're generic.
But Titan Mode was kind of cool because it combined like elements of Conquest with elements of Rush, with it just gave a bunch more different strategies that you could deploy to win a game.
Right, yeah, because like Rush wasn't actually a thing yet, because Rush didn't come into play until Bad Company. Yeah. But the whole idea of destroying objectives to then get to a greater objective was something new. because you had these different panels. So there was 2 levels in the Titan, and then there was 4 panels, 2 per level that you had to destroy.
Was there 4?
You had to, there was 4.
Okay.
There was 4, and you had to destroy them in a certain sequence, 1, 2, 3, and 4 in order, to then open up the blast doors to the core of the Titan. And then once you got the blast core, then you had to use like a bunch of explosives, a bunch of ammunition to destroy the core. Yeah, it was. And so that was a very interesting thing, because it all came down to somewhat like Conquest, because you had to hold those points. But inevitably, if you got enough guys together, you could destroy the Titan by either just rockets just ramming into it or killing the core.
Well, those missile launcher control points on the map needed to take down the shields of the Titans before you could board them. So they had to go down to 50%, which is one of the things that they did keep the same in carrier assault. So you have those, 3 missile launch bays scattered across the map that are essentially just like flags in Conquest that you have to hold and capture for your team. Then those missiles will automatically launch at the enemy carrier and weaken its defenses. And then when you get down to 50%, shit breaks open, and you can then enter the carrier to destroy 2 MCOMs. And I've seen a lot of chatter about how that's a cop-out. And you know what? I hadn't even remembered the complexity of what you just described. I knew that there were consoles you had to destroy. I forgot about the core in 2142.
See, now I talked to... I don't know how much of this I can really talk about, because we are going to have Dennis Bronville, the guy who was on the live stream on the podcast. I've been talking with him, and him and I were actually we were talking about carrier assault. We were talking. Yeah. We were talking about carrier assault, and I asked him. I was like, "So why did we not get the exact same setup that we had in Titan mode from 2142?" And I think a lot of it came down to the complexity of what they accomplished with the carrier. He said that it's pretty much 2 levels inside the bigger level. So like they had to pretty much make these 2 levels inside of this carrier. So that itself is very complex. And then you also have to think about it from a last gen perspective. So these guys the guys on the PS3 and on the Xbox 360 still have to play to what we're playing at the same time. So they kind of had to dumb it down a bit to get the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 onto the same level.
I get why he would say that, but it sounds like a cop out, because
it is. Like I think from a level design point, it makes sense to him, but I feel like for the overall mechanics wise, they could have made 2 different variations of it, I think, for last gen and now.
I'm sure last gen could have handled, even if the MCOMs weren't just regular MCOMs, if they were something else. I've heard people talk about what if they were the armory in the carrier or something like that.
That's originally what I thought.
And
right,
something
so like
more specific other than this. Oh, look, there's a box that we have to destroy to blow up this carrier.
And that's what kind of sucked, because even like the explosions inside the carrier aren't that great. Like so the first MCOM is like right within the hangar bay, because like when you blow up the initial defenses of the carrier, you drop the main hangar door. Right. So you can get in there, and there's an MCOM in there. So when the MCOM explodes, it's like an explosion in actual Rush. It's nothing amazing. It doesn't blow a hole in the wall. It is
literally a box that blows up.
It's literally a box that blows up. And then when you get in the engine room, like this part really, really got to me. When you blow up the engine room, nothing happens. So like, remember in 2142, you had X amount of seconds to blow up the core and then run off the Titan and jump off.
And they don't have that now. I thought you could still have to
carrier assault. No, in carrier assault, once you blow up the MCOM, the final MCOM, the game instantaneously finishes.
See those are small things that and to me that just sounds like it's been rushed again, because that's something that they could have done. It just the MCOMs seem out of place. Why is there an MCOM in the hangar bay, for one? Why that whole element of having, even if they had 2 doors inside there that you had to blow up to get to the engine room, and then actually blow up the engine room in the end, something that makes a little bit more sense other than just, oh look, 2 MCOMs exploded, the carrier is now gone.
No, I agree, and I feel like those details are kind of off, but the overall gameplay is still the same. They've kept 2 very tight corridors. So if you take the MCOM in the main hangar bay, that's easy, but getting to the second MCOM in the engine room is a little more difficult because you have to go actually down through the aircraft carrier through these very small hallways
Right.
to get there. So the defense and attack aspects of Titan mode are still there. So like gameplay wise, I think it's the same, but overall visuals and actual like core mechanics of the gameplay have been changed drastically.
Yeah, we'll see how effective that is going to be when it comes to public servers and how teams are going to play. Because in my experience with Titan mode, for the first half of the map, you just play Conquest, basically making sure that you maintain those missile
Right.
silos. And after that, attacking the Titan was actually quite difficult. A lot of rounds would end by the Titan being destroyed from continued missile barrage, as opposed to people actually blowing up the core.
Well, the hardest part was actually getting onto the Titan.
Well,
You
that
actually
too,
had
because they
you
were
had to
obviously
launch
hovering.
yourself. Right, they were high up in the air, so you actually
Yeah.
had to launch yourself up, get dropped off by transport, or have spawn beacons. Now, all you have to do is just drive a boat up into the aircraft carrier, or get dropped off by a transport helo. So the actual like, getting onto the aircraft carrier is, in my opinion, I think it's a lot easier to get there. So like the team that's getting besieged by the enemy team has to have a very good defense on top of the aircraft carrier to keep from transport helos dropping troops off.
Yeah.
They also need to have a good internal defense to keep them off. And then you also need an attacking team that's still taking points trying to kill the enemy aircraft carrier. So I feel like this could be a fun game to see for esports, for like the things like Level BF does, ESL. I think this would be a lot more interesting than watching a 5v5 Dom or a 10v10 Conquest, or like a small Conquest. Like those games, they're okay,
Yeah.
but they don't have as much excitement behind them. And I feel like watching an obliteration match or watching a match of carrier assault would be a lot more exciting to me.
That's true. And I guess one of the benefits of it being easier to get onto the carrier is that maybe more people will try to do that.
Right.
And try to go after those objectives, as opposed to just being content with playing Conquest and waiting for essentially round 10. It's really not all that different. You're controlling 3 flags, and given enough time, you win the round. So that should be interesting. What do you think of the look of the maps? We've seen... how many maps did they play? I only caught the second half of the live stream, and it was just the one map.
They showed all 4.
Did they? Okay.
So like some of the rounds were really short. Like the carrier assault map, like there was the first match that showed a carrier assault was extremely fast. And then I mean,
that
there's
ends so quickly though.
I think they literally just they captured the points and got in, and just blew up the end. I don't think anyone was really defending. But there's also a bunch of YouTuber videos out there, guys that got invited out in London and in LA. So those are all over the place. I think the map wise, I think they look great. Visually, they look really, really nice.
Well, visually, all the maps always look amazing. I've never met anybody that said the game looks bad. It always looks beautiful.
There's a lot of elevation changes I've noticed. There's 2 maps that have an immense amount of elevation change, so that's nice. Like at least in Conquest Large, having to go up hills and having to defend those hills, like those are always fun kind of gameplays. There is it Wavebreaker that has the submarine base? That one's pretty cool. So you have to actually like get into a submarine base, and this submarine is sitting on stilts, and you can blow up the stilts and drop the submarine on top of you. See, now that was one of the teasers they were talking about when they were actually giving descriptions of Naval Strike. Like drop a submarine on your enemies, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, we're gonna get submarines!" It's like no, literally, you're just gonna drop a submarine on top.
There's a bunch of hype. You can deploy a submarine for your team or something.
And
no.
Funny enough, Daniel had said that the submarine was actually one of the things they tried getting into the game originally. Vanilla-wise, they wanted to get a submarine. And we had talked about before Battlefield 4 had launched, there was a teaser of a submarine as a commander ability, but that actually got the axe before they could even implement it into the game, unfortunately. So the submarine has always been an idea for Battlefield 4. It just got nixed.
So carrier assault seems a little bit more simplified, not only with the stuff that we talked about as to how to destroy them, but also you can't move those carriers. They're stationary. They're always in the same place.
Which is unfortunate. I was really hoping, like that was one of the fun things about it, is that your commander had the ability to move the Titans, and that
it did lag the hell out of the servers at times.
It destroyed the servers. Those servers couldn't handle that. But it was really cool because you could get Titans that would literally just bump up against each other and sit right there. So it was great. You could just launch pods onto each other's Titans. So I feel like in a tactic wise, like having a commander that's well in tune with you and your team and being able to maneuver those carriers around, I think would add to another play style for the game. But unfortunately, I'm sure there's a lot of limitations they have with moving something that monstrous with that many things inside of it going on. I mean, like we saw it with 2142, and thinking back, like that was extremely simplistic in comparison to what we have now, like
Yeah,
gameplay wise, like how much code there actually is now.
I know,
So
and that's always going to be an excuse, maybe a valid one, but it will always be the excuse that there's too much. We can't do it because of whatever, and because of the older consoles and so on and so forth. But it did add more tactics to the game, and it made it more. It made it round over round. It made it more interesting because the commander
yes,
could move the Titan somewhere. And yeah, they sometimes they'd bump up into each other, but a lot of times you could actually place them strategically, especially if you knew what areas of the map your team controlled.
right.
There was definite benefits, which is why it made it so difficult to launch on top of them sometimes.
Right.
You mentioned something to me about stingers getting nerfed. Now, I saw a lot in the
Yeah.
live stream that obviously helicopters will play a part because that will be one good way to get onto the carrier. The carriers themselves don't have any stationary defensive weapons, do they?
No, I
There's
did
no
not see any type
turrets,
of.
no AA guns on it, which is probably
Which is
a
another
good
thing that was. It's probably a good thing, but that was one of the things that was nice with 2142 is that you had an ability to defend your Titan from infantry and from vehicles because you had a set of miniguns, air defense miniguns, and then also ground cannons.
Yeah.
So I feel like having some type of see, like on a carrier, on an aircraft carrier, you don't really have that. Yeah, you have some anti-aircraft defense, like we've always had. But there's really no other defense systems in place for carriers because they're not designed to be up in battles. They're
True.
designed,
Okay. Yeah, but you can also
they're
say
designed
you'd
for
never come across a carrier by itself.
right. No, you always
know.
have things defending it. So it would have been cool to have like smaller battleships that could help like launch barrages onto islands. I feel like there's a lot more they really could have done with Naval Strike. I was really hoping for more naval stuff. Like I was hoping for new things to be implemented, not just an aircraft carrier and a hoverboat. So
Yeah, I'm hoping that there will be good gameplay on the carriers because to me that's the more interesting part.
from watching the live stream, it seems like there will be. It seems like there's a lot of really good good ways to defend and to attack. I think they put a lot of thought into how that works. Bringing in Rush with the MCOM thing still disappoints me because overall you can stop them from damaging the ship by disarming the MCOM. I feel like if it would have
Yeah.
just been just destroying whatever that object was, so like let's say it was like the commander's bridge, like you had to go and blow up the console in the bridge. I think that would be cool because then overall it's still going to be destroyed. But I mean, like I feel like the enemy, the team that's being besieged, should be punished for that. You weren't able to control the points on the map long enough, so you're gonna get punished by getting your stuff blown up. So I feel like I always liked that in 2142 because it was a constant just tug of war as to who was doing what, and overall the team that had better just defense of the points always won because they were able to get in and ultimately destroy it. I don't think I ever really saw a game that was so close that both teams were destroying each other's cores at the same time.
No, that would have been very rare for that to happen. You would have had to have pretty organized gameplay to get it to be that close. But did they say anything about the other game modes on those maps? Like if you're just playing Conquest, is the carrier even part of the map?
No. So every map can have carrier assault played on it, but
Okay,
the
so we
carrier
will
is
have
not
4 maps with that game mode because that was a question that
correct.
I saw. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So each map is designed to have carrier assault played on it.
Yeah.
So the carrier is not just like some permanent static object that's in there. It's placed in there
Okay.
for carrier
So if you're
assault.
just playing Conquest on it, there's no carriers, and it's
I,
just
I
a
don't
map.
I didn't see well they didn't really play Conquest, so I don't know if
Yeah.
that's going to be like the US like spawning point for things like we normally have like a carrier to launch planes off of or boats from underneath or jet skis. So I'm not entirely sure because the only game mode we really did see was carrier assault.
So we have the new what the hell do they call it? The new amphibious thing, the hovercraft, which is new, which
Yeah.
can go over water and over land, and I saw it bouncing all over the place.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
because for
it's-
some reason in Battlefield there are rocks and holes everywhere, I mean, I realize it's like a tropical island and not a parking lot, but I have a feeling that there's going to be a crap ton of videos of those things being jumped all over the place, laden with C4.
I thought immediately I could just put slams on it on the
Yeah.
front and then just bump it into things.
But it seems like it's going to be bumping all over the place, but it is kind of... I don't know. What do you think of that hovercraft as an addition?
I'm not impressed. I really am not. Like, I understand what they're trying to do because they've made these maps a lot more aquatic. They've added a lot more water and diminished the amount of land they have on the maps, which I understand. Carrier, Naval Strike,
Well,
water.
that is good. Yeah, you wouldn't want to have the 2 carriers docked at a harbor
right.
somewhere,
Right. Yeah, that would suck. But the whole idea for them bringing in the hovercraft, they have said because the attack boat is already so powerful, there's no reason to add in more naval units. Which, I mean, I guess I could understand that, but I feel like for me the attack boat is similar to like an APC. I would like to see a tank version of an aquatic vehicle, like a small battleship or like a larger.
I was going to say the picture in my head was completely different than that.
No, I'm thinking like something like a small battleship or like a larger attack boat, something that you could put like 2 squads on or something like that. Something that was like very like monstrous,
Yeah.
but it would pay for it in like speed and mobility, speed and maneuverability.
Well, from what I saw on the maps, a lot of the waterways are pretty tight. They're either canals or between islands.
So that's where I thought they implemented the hovercraft because of that. So
Yeah.
you needed a way to quick jump from island to island and then still maneuver where the attack boat couldn't go, but where a Sea-Doo could go, but a Sea-Doo can't go on land. So you needed something that could do the thing that a Sea-Doo could do and that a Jeep could do, which would be a hovercraft. So it's a 2-seater. You've got one guy in the back that can shoot just like you would on an ATV or on a dirt bike. But other than that, I don't see any real use to it.
No, and it almost seems like I have a fear that it's going to be a clusterfuck of vehicles. You're going to have attack boats, you're going to have rib boats, you're going to have Sea-Doos, you're going to have those hovercrafts, probably used mostly for trolling people.
Yeah.
Whether it slams on them
Probably.
or trying to roadkill them on islands.
I'm waiting for the first C4 launch of a hovercraft across the map, killing a jet. Like I'm just waiting for it.
Oh yeah, that will happen probably before the DLC drops.
Yep.
But I also fear that they're going to get stuck a lot on the islands, on trees, on rocks, on structures, and then people will be knifing them across islands backwards for 20 yards, which would be
So now
fun
that's
to do.
I do like that they did add that mechanic in the last patch. for
Yes,
this
but how?
DLC. There should have been a better way of doing it, like hit
Even if
X
they just
for push.
had an animation where they pushed it with their hands.
Or even it didn't even have to need an animation. Just if it gave you the ability to push said vehicle 10 feet or 5 feet or something enough to get it back into the water instead of you just slashing your knife over and over and
I
over
know.
again. Oh,
And I know we're getting off
silly.
topic there, but even if it had been like a thing that pops up, press E to push boat or something like that. The whole
Yeah,
idea of
right.
I'm slicing at the attack boat, which I've done
Yeah.
on the coast of Gulf of Oman and just pushed it back in the water.
Yeah, the hovercraft's really funny because that is a very pliable material.
You,
Like
you
those,
don't think you want to put a knife in there?
Right? No, yeah, they're meant to inflate with air, and that creates the whole hover, all the physics and everything that's going on in there. It creates
Yeah.
the hover.
It's
So-
critical to the hovering part, the air.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're knifing that material. That's always really funny. So
I don't know what the fuck is going on in the chat there, but people are all over it. Somebody said on Twitter, at Killer Win, said, "What do you guys think about the Naval Strike maps being designed primarily for Rush? Are they?
I don't
Somebody
know.
say that? I didn't
really
see that.
I didn't really see that. I mean, they were more designed primarily for carrier assault.
That's what I thought.
Like the whole idea behind it was bringing back what a lot of the community was crying for was like a Titan mode of some sort. So the whole idea of it was made more so for that. Like they did show off. I did see some YouTube videos of them playing Rush, the YouTubers playing Rush. I did even see some capture the flag. So I mean, like I feel like whenever these map designers go in there, people like Dennis, they go in and they think about how all the game modes interact with the game.
Yeah.
So they're thinking about how you could play capture the flag, how you can play team deathmatch, how you can play obliteration and rush, along with their primary game mode they're trying to establish with this DLC, and that's carrier assault. So I don't really think that they were primarily made for one game mode specifically, other than carrier assault. But from what I've seen, I still think Rush will work very well with these maps. I think it's going to work a lot like how it plays out in Parasol Storm. In Parasol Storm, it's very spaced out, so like you'll have one rush point on the main base or on the main island, and then you'll then move off to a farther away island, and then off to the carrier, so things like that. So I think it's going to work the same way. If you've taken a look at how the maps are laid out, there's like usually one main hub in the middle, and then there's islands around it. Except for the one map with the submarine inside of it. That's just one big hunk of land. That's
yes, I am Croman, Tim Hortons. And the thing is, I don't play a lot of Rush personally. I've always been a Conquest player over Rush, but there are a lot of Battlefield players that are into Rush. A lot of them coming on board with Battlefield Bad Company, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And Rush has been a game mode highly criticized in Battlefield 4 for its lack of enjoyment, because a lot of the MCOM placements seem questionable, or people think they're really unfair to the attacker. And
the one that always comes to mind is Dam of Van Peek in Battlefield 3. That was usually one-sided for the most part. If you had a very strong defensive team, coming down the hill was a pain in the ass.
But it was still manageable. Like in Battlefield 4,
it was manageable.
Worse.
Yeah, Battlefield 4, it sucks. But I'm just thinking, like, just Rush in general, I've never really enjoyed all that much, because it's too linear. I don't enjoy linear gameplay.
Yeah.
It's just like playing Metro this like over and over and over again, because like you have to go from point A to point B. There's nothing else you can do to progress forward through the game other than going and hitting those MCOMs. So for the guys who like to PTFO a lot and have a sense of gratification, I think Rush works out really, really well, because you could play Conquest all day long, and it's really a flip of the coin. But I feel like you can change the way the game is going a lot more with destroying two MCOMs. So
and hopefully Rush will be good in this. I mean, just thinking of all the people that do enjoy playing Rush, and I don't mind playing Rush from time to time, but it has to be. I don't know. I find it more difficult sometimes for me personally to enjoy Rush games, because they tend to be very one-sided.
Yes.
Either way, I'm not saying that I'm always in favor of the defenders or the attackers, but a lot of times when you join into a Rush game, it is already stacked in one direction or the other. So it would be good. I mean, hopefully these will be good for Rush, for those people that want to play that, because I feel like there has been a distinct lack of enjoyable Rush maps in Battlefield 4 as a whole, and I think a lot of that has to do with the map design and the placement of MCOMs. Back to Carrier Assault, though, for a minute. There's some stuff that a good question was posed. Do we think whether or not people will actually play to defend the carriers, or will they not focus on it? There seems to be 2142 was so long ago, and it still strikes me. I still have that bit of a halo from Battlefield 2 across it, where the community was smaller and filled with less fucktards, for less, not politically correct term, but there's just it was a different feeling. Even though I'm sure if I were to actually go back, it was just as bad then, but it just feels like, No,
it was different. It's definitely it's evolved to something completely different, something that we didn't see years ago with Battlefield 2. It
can be difficult to get your team to play the objective in Battlefield 4.
Yeah, you can. So the question do they think the team's going to defend? They have to. You have no choice. I
could see it just degenerating to Conquest around 3 flags, turning into a domination mode until.
Well, then they're either going to get
in 2 people defending a carrier and 2 people attacking it, and them just kind of canceling each other out.
They're going to get really frustrated and either quit or adapt and figure out, I need to defend.
Oh, they'll quit.
So that's the thing. Is like there's really no way going about it. Is if they don't defend, then they're going to lose over and over and over again. And they're going to get upset and leave, or figure it out and go, I should probably defend when it says defend. There's got to be some set of rewards in place for players to defend. Right. So I feel like there's going to be extra XP bonuses for getting defense points. There's going to be medals. There's going to be something that they have to put something in place to reward the player, because expecting someone to do something without a reward is just beating your head up against a wall. It's just not going to happen. So they're going to have to design some type of element into the game. I'm not sure if it's there or not. I really haven't paid that much attention to bonuses in the game, but they'll have to give them some type of reward for doing it.
Yes. What I'm worried about is that the game is just since you can't do anything with the carrier until the defenses are down.
Yes. You feel like people are just going to get stuck in this mindset of just
I could see it just
points?
just going around. I mean, I don't know. Hopefully I'm wrong. I do want to play Carrier Assault the way it was meant to be. I want it to feel a little bit like Titan Mode did in 2142. It's really hard to predict whether that's going to happen or not until we actually get to play it. But I could see it. I could see it focusing more around control of those flags or those missile silos than the actual carrier assault part of it. Well, especially because it seems like, in Titan mode, it used to be pretty 50-50. You'd spend the first half dealing with those silos, and then everybody tried to deal with the Titans after that. And you'd have a couple of people you could almost by yourself circle the map and just recapture the silos. There's been many times where everyone's trying to get, and it's this meat grinder on top of the Titan, and you have 3 people running in circles recapping flak. It would just you could almost tell on the map, like, okay, so the enemy just capped that one, so I'll go get that.
Yeah, because everyone was gone.
Right. I could see it being the opposite in this, or when the defenses go down, I'm worried that the carriers aren't going to last very long because it's too easy to destroy them.
I don't know. I think you're right. I feel like that's how it's gonna happen. It's just the middle of the map where all the silos are at it's gonna be a ghost town, and everything's gonna be happening on the Titan. So it's gonna have a natural shift. So it's dependent. So it's going to be interesting to see what players do once that shift happens in gameplay. To how they actually manage the map. It'll be interesting to see how people manage, because like in Conquest Large, it just becomes a rotation. Like people are just constantly just moving from point to point to point. But now you've got from point to point to point to then main point. So it'll be interesting to see like how people actually manage themselves gameplay wise.
Another question that came up a couple times: do we think that Naval Strike is Battlefield 4's last chance to save itself for some of the community? This comes up every DLC. We had the same discussion, not in a podcast, but I know you and I talked about it for Second Assault. And I was thinking, to me, Second Assault was the DLC that had the best chance of saving the game. Because I thought Second Assault was, hey, these maps have been done before. They're supposedly fan favorites. So people love them, and I thought it had a good chance of changing a lot of people's minds. I don't think it did that, but we never really did talk about Second Assault very much.
No, I feel like there wasn't really much to talk about because we've seen it all before. Like, yeah, there were some modifications made to the maps, some good, some bad, but it's the same stuff. So it was I really never saw Second Assault as something to save Battlefield 4 because, one, it came out way too fast. It was already out on Xbox.
Yeah. Well, or too late, depending on how you feel.
Right. So I never really thought much of Second Assault. Like, I got to play it early. That was fun. I got to play Caspian Border. But it wasn't anything that was like, wow, because I've already seen it. Like, a lot of people, if you're hardcore Battlefield 3 players and going into Battlefield 4, you had already grinded through those maps and had hundreds of hours on those maps. So it wasn't anything amazing. Now, a Second Assault, I feel like this is introducing a brand new game mode into the game, something that really not a lot of Battlefield players have seen before, because I feel like this generation of Battlefield players is comprised primarily of Bad Company players that have moved on to Battlefield 3 who are then in Battlefield 4.
Yeah.
Not very many players from Battlefield 2 do you find playing Battlefield 4 anymore. Like, there's definitely some out there, but you don't see a lot of them. So I feel like this is a way to capture the Battlefield 4 community in a way to introduce something new, kind of like how Obliteration was supposed to be, but Obliteration never really worked out well.
That kind of failed.
It was kind of like Capture the Flag meets Capture the Flag with one flag meets Rush, and it just never really worked out the right way.
And it didn't help the game mode that they broke it several times in patches.
Right, and it was kind of been seen before because Call of Duty did that as well. They had an Obliteration game mode with a lot less players. So I think this is something that I think this will make it or break it for a lot of people. I feel like if this doesn't work, if they don't find enjoyment in this game mode, they're just gonna drop it and walk away. And they're like, I'm done.
I almost think we're at the stage now where people have already made up their mind. So some of them, and some of our friends, in fact, that we know, are just basically done with Battlefield 4. They said,
Yes.
that's it. I will play every once in a while when my friends are playing, but other than that, I'm done. And then there's still people that, there's probably a group of people that really hope for the DLC. Like every time a DLC or a patch comes out, they go, I hope this will be the one. It will be better.
Yeah.
It will be better now. And they do that over and over. And then there's another group of people that really enjoys the game and actually, has no issues.
Some diehard, right? There's some diehard players out there that don't give a rat's ass. They don't see it. They're not frustrated. They actually get on your case if you are upset. Like, how dare you get upset with this game? And like, I kind of respect those people. At the same time, I get kind of frustrated with them.
I just want to know what they're drinking every morning to make that happen.
What's in your coffee?
I have bitched about the kill cam, the most recent atrocity that happened in Battlefield 4 that I can't believe they have not fixed yet. That should have been a 2-day fix.
Yeah.
But I mentioned this in the chat or somewhere, and I've actually had people argue with me about whether or not that's important. So it's like, well,
yeah. To me, that's frustrating.
Some people are actually saying, "Well, it's better now. You don't always know where it's coming from." It's like, dude, that's not the point.
So go play hardcore. Like
Right.
The reason why the kill cam was there was it was to show people that they weren't getting one, they weren't getting one hit killed, and two, it was to help with campers that you just you didn't know where they were at. So like a kill cam in general in a lot of games is designed for you to keep people moving, to not keep people camping. Like it's a mechanic that's been built into a lot of games.
And so many times you get killed and you go, what the fuck just happened? At least
Right.
the kill cam gives you an idea. It's like, oh, there's a guy halfway across the map on a fucking crane.
And now
Well played.
it's telling me that my buddy next to me killed me with an artillery strike
Yeah.
with a missile. I'm like, well, no.
Well, it's okay when it's that bad that you know it's not true.
Well, it's kind of funny.
What bugs me the most is when it shows you that an enemy killed you, but you know it couldn't have been him. Like, it's close, it's reasonable enough. Like, he's actually on the other team. He's in the same vicinity, but he's behind a solid brick wall, so you know it wasn't him.
Yeah.
And it just, I'd rather not have a kill cam than one that confuses me.
Yes. No, I agree, and that's that. I think that's the whole reason why people are upset about it.
Duncan, you don't have fucking respawns in real life either. Just saying. He's like, you don't have a kill cam in real life.
The
How
chat
do you
is
know?
hilarious.
You might.
So, anyways, damn, just got totally just off track. So yeah, no, and so those players are respectable to a certain degree and frustrating at the same time. But the community needs those players to keep the game going, because if we didn't have those players, then the game would be dead.
And hopefully, I don't think that this is the thing. Like, when you're talking about the next DLC, whether it's Naval Strike or the two after that, none of them are going to make the game. None of them are going to fix the game. No. I firmly believe in the fact that there's nothing that is going to fix the game. The game is the way it is, and that's how it's going to be. The best I personally hope for now is that the next DLC is going to be enjoyable to play. I've actually had a reasonable amount of fun with Second Assault. I didn't like the assignments, and there's some changes on some of the maps that they made that I thought were unnecessary. But, overall, I've been playing Second Assault maps intentionally lately.
I feel more comfortable in them. Yeah, I feel more comfortable in them than I do in like China Rising.
I think that's a big part of it. Yes.
I didn't like China Rising at all. Like I played them for a little bit, but there was nothing that really made them stand out. There wasn't anything that was iconic about them that made me go, wow. Like, I like the vanilla maps in Battlefield 4. Like, they're really nice. Like the way that the level design is well done, but China Rising is just kind of just bleh.
Oh, China Rising, I've literally played for 20 minutes probably, and that's about it.
But if I get into a Second Assault server, I like it. I really like playing Firestorm. There's a lot of people that don't like Firestorm,
Caspian is a lot of fun. Caspian to me feels the most true of the maps, even though there's a giant wall and a stupid tower that falls over.
I like the wall. I think that they did a really
Okay,
nice
let's
job
argue
because
that.
now you don't because you have these bottlenecks and like the map control overall is a lot more manageable than a weird fence that you can cut through with a knife.
I like my
I
fences I can cut with my knife.
yeah. So like
The
I
biggest thing
like
to
those.
me about the wall that it used to give you so many options when you didn't have it.
But you can blow through the wall.
You could
You don't have to.
well that's
Like, you don't-
yeah, but you can't drive your tank through the wall wherever you want like you used to be able to.
No, but then those are key points that you have to control. Then, like if you want your team to run armor through the wall, then you have to control the door.
But I want to drive the armor through the wall, and my team is full of idiots that are not going to control anything on the map.
Yeah, well, there's your teamwork issue. So
Well, but that's to the point. Like you could manage that in BF3. In BF3, you could take a 2 or 3 person. You can't get 3 people in a tank anymore either in Battlefield 4, which is something
yeah,
that
that's frustrating.
annoys the shit out of me. But you used to be able, and you and I, we've done this. You used to be able to take a tank filled with 3 people, drive it all
Run
the
a
way,
map.
flank all the way around to the gas station or what have you,
Yeah.
and not dominate the map by any means, but you had a really good way of getting around there.
Yeah, running that far left side, if you're coming from US
Yeah.
from A point to E, was a lot more manageable, and they kind of took that away. No, you're right. So there are aspects to the map that are a little different. I think that the change is nice. I like the tower. I like how the tower falls down and then opens up a new entry point for Bravo to get onto Delta. Like that's pretty cool. It also looks really pretty as well. Like when the fire kind of comes through the smokestack and then blows
Yeah.
out. That's pretty cool.
I mean, I'm not saying that all the improvements or the changes that they made to that map are bad. Like I said, overall,
Right.
I enjoy playing that one. Probably, I don't know. I have a hard time. I think the one that I enjoy playing the least, maybe Oman, just because of that
Yeah.
that sandstorm,
I don't,
which is
I don't like it. It's gimmicky. Like the
it's too
sandstorms.
much. You can't spot
it-
worth shit. You can see
You can't
things,
spot
but you can't
anything.
spot 'em.
We tried playing at the attack helicopter, and
Yeah,
you
that went
couldn't
well.
see. You couldn't see anything. So you had to switch to. I mean, like you have to switch to infrared to really hit anything. And then you're constantly getting potentially hit by jets and helicopters because they can't
Well,
see
they
you.
can't see you. Yeah.
So you're just getting rammed into all the time.
But so let's talk about Levolution because that's some of the additions. Obviously, you mentioned the tower falling over the wall,
All right.
Operation Firestorm, which is now consistently on fire every time, everywhere that you step. I think everybody should just wear like a fully protective, fire retardant
Just a
suit.
just fire retardant suit. Yeah, with
Yeah,
jelly and
I got
thing.
my hair burned off while sitting in a tank the other day. So, is there Levolution effects in Naval Strike?
There are, but they're not the large Levolution effects like towers falling down and stuff. They are more so those map manipulation Levolution effects. So in one map you have a crashed jetliner. Forgive me, I still don't know the map names yet and how to associate them. But one map you have a crashed jetliner. So that is the Levolution effect. You can blow through that jet to create cover, and that's about it. So there's not much other than that you could do. There's another map with the submarine. So the submarine base, you can blow the submarine off its stilts, and then you can actually open and close floodgates. So that's there. Really, other than that, they're more focused on the wind and the
There's
storm
no
effects.
storm, like,
There's no real
no
paracel
big-
storm,
Right.
but there's waves, but they're not big crashing waves. They're just like small little waves that kind of come through and change the way that the boats are played on the map.
I
And
made
then
a comment during that live stream to Peekaboo, and I think it was Dennis who said that we listened to the player and everybody loves the waves on Paracel Storm, and I said, what players are they talking about?
I think some people like using the waves as cover, but actually trying to get the other on the waves is a pain in the ass because you're constantly going underwater.
Yeah.
Like, there's no good way to get on top of the waves. They're all in cycle. Like there's no actual change to how the waves come. They're always coming the same pattern.
Oh, are they?
So
Okay.
there's no real good way to get on top of the wave and then try to traverse your way on top of the other waves to get a clear path from one
Right.
point to the
It
other.
makes
It's
Sea-Doo
very, very annoying.
a pain in the ass.
It
And even
makes
in the attack
everything a pain
boats,
in the ass.
Yeah.
Like you have to go with the waves to really get anywhere, but that's always one side. Like they never go in any other direction. So the waves are different. They've added a lot more like wind effects and things like that. They actually have a sunset sunrise or sunrise sunset effect now. So like they do have that's like actual levolution in one of the maps is just the sun going across. So Dice is using their OP
They
sun
have
effect
levolution, whatever.
levolution on weaponized.
The day. The
Yeah,
movement of the Earth is now a feature.
they've used the sun as their levolution effect. So
Naval
I guess
Strike,
like,
now with rotation of the Earth.
so blinding the player is the levolution effect in that map. So
Wait, blinding? Did they actually say that?
no. I
I
was
was going to say.
The
The BF4 sun sets, the BF3 sun rises. Prepare your retinas.
So they said they wanted to stay away from like the Hollywood cinematic levolution effects on this one, which I like. I guess like every map you can't have
I agree.
a Siege of Shanghai tower falling, but it wouldn't be nice to have like one like iconic levolution effect in like the map pack. Like China Rising, there wasn't any. In Second Assault, there was the Sandstorm, which I guess could be iconic. In Vanilla, it was Siege of Shanghai, the tower falling over, or like the dam busting in Flood Zone.
I
things
guess
like
we
that.
should be happy that there are some.
At least there's something. Like in China Rising, there wasn't anything because they weren't able to actually get it out.
You just couldn't see it, but they said there was.
They said
It was
no.
cardboard boxes when you stepped on them, they went squish. That was the evolution.
They said that they weren't able to get it in time. So,
well, did they say that? I've heard them also say, no, it's there. We put the stuff in we wanted to put in. We just didn't want to overwhelm you with awesomeness. We just gave you a little mediocrity just to mix it up. That cannon. I suppose that could be called
old cannon
levolution. That was just
That's
brought
not
up in
though.
the chat.
It's not. So the cannon.
It's a
this
thing.
Is very interesting.
Everything
It's
is
a
levolution
thing.
now, Tim. That's not just like if it's not in your hand as a gun and you don't sit your ass in it to drive it. It's levolution.
So the cannon was actually not supposed to be in the game. Like it was just like something that the map, the artist put in there as just there as decoration.
Right.
And Dennis was like, "Well, shit, we should make it fire." So they made the old cannon fire, but I think it's kind of silly. Like I don't understand like how you're able to get an old cannon to function and think like it's been there with a powder charge.
Yeah,
in
well,
there
you
with
get
a cannonball and a lighter,
the
like in a
cannonballs
fuse.
around? Where did they?
Yeah, like it's silly. But I'm waiting for the cannonball montages that are going to be.
How much do you
hit.
want to bet that there's going to be an assignment to get a kill or shoot
There
down an
is.
air vehicle with it? Right.
There's a trophy. There's
Yeah.
a cannon trophy for the console players.
So that means that there's probably an origin.
There's an Origin trophy, right? Yeah, I forget that Origin
And
does
it is
the console
motherfucking
trophies.
snowing outside.
So
Okay, so well that cannon's kind of interesting, and there's going to be like a lineup of people trying to use it.
if we're gonna get cannons, I want pirate ships.
Well, if we get
Just saying.
pirate ships, I want to actually capture one of the birds flying around and put it on my shoulder.
Do you remember the Battlefield 2 mod, the Pirates mod?
Battlefield Pirates.
Yeah, that was awesome. That's it. They were so cool. That kind of makes me think of Naval Strike.
Couldn't you
there was-
use the? Why can't I fucking remember the name of those birds now? Parrots. There you go.
Parrot?
Why
Wow.
couldn't you use parrots as a weapon in Battlefield Pirates or something? You could launch it and it would drop bombs.
I don't remember.
There was a thing. I swear to God. There
are different classes
It was
of
the
boats and
first
stuff.
UAV in the Battlefield series.
Oh
that
no, you're
had
right.
launched.
You're right. No, yeah. No, I do remember this. That's right. They did reskin a
pirate,
UAV as a
Quinn.
parrot.
They're not. Never mind. It's gone a little off track.
Yeah, just a little.
All right, so Naval Strike comes out on Tuesday for premium members.
Yes.
2 weeks after that for the unwashed masses. I saw a question earlier. I've heard this from people now still if they should buy premium. And you know what? With Battlefield 3, I said, no doubt you should get premium. It's a better deal than buying DLCs individually. With BF4, at this point, you probably want to just pick and choose your DLCs and end up, buying maybe 2 of them. But you can't say until the last 2 are out, obviously, but I wouldn't have bought China Rising if I'd had the choice, that's for sure.
No, I definitely would have foregoed that.
Goat.
Foregoed.
It's one more than 3 goats.
I would say no, don't get it. There's not enough incentive to get it right now. That's like before, like you said in Battlefield 3, there was a decent incentive to get it.
The problem always is, though, that when you get it, like, at the end, yeah, you have hindsight of knowing, okay, you know what, I really only want two of the 5 DLCs. But
cheap, too.
The further on you get, though, the less played the earlier DLCs get. But
right.
yeah, I guess
yes.
you can pick it up for
It'll also
price.
become stupid cheap at some point. And so, like, if you, let's say you get, like, you just want Second Assault and Naval Strike and Last Stand.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 months down the road, they're doing an Origin sale, 50% off on Premium. I would totally grab it because at that point, it would be $30, and that's 2 DLCs. So you could make up for the other DLCs you don't have right there. So you're missing 3, or you're missing 2. So you just buy Premium.
The other thing that we wanted to talk about briefly is the Riot Shield rumors.
The Riot Shield, yes.
So this is why I took notes like 2 days ago. That's the only other thing that I haven't covered. So explain to me, because you just told me Riot Shield stupid. That's all basically those 3 words you said to me. And,
yeah.
And I said Riot Shield. What? So where did this come from?
I'm not
Reddit,
entirely.
right?
It came from Reddit.
Yeah.
It came from MP First. There were definitely there was a handful of news stories that dropped talking about somehow someone got information saying that in Dragon's Teeth there's going to be riot shields. And they're going to be 2-handed riot shields, and they're going to be used to go against grenade spamming.
Because they're excellent at deflecting explosives.
Well, I mean, I guess like if you have a grenade launcher, like it'll kind of like defend you from that. It'll bounce off. Like I think it's dumb. We saw Call of Duty had riot shields. Like they're one of the first games to implement riot shields, and those were dumb in Modern Warfare 2. Mm-hmm. They weren't enjoyable to get smacked around with because it was a one-hit kill with a smack from a riot shield. So like, I guess other than like, it'd be kind of funny to have a bunch of your buddies kind of make a Roman turtle and kind of just stagger each other and just step through a hallway on a metro and just pinch.
I'm going to reserve judgment on it, whether or not they're actually going to happen or not. But if they do, I hope that you can use them in other maps, because I think on Metro it could actually work.
I think it'll be like a weapon. Like it'll
think
actually
of
be
a
like
Metro
an actual
no
attachment.
explosive server. And you know what? It just occurred to me. As soon as I heard you talk about riot shields, I was thinking there's a game that I played not too long ago that had shields, and I couldn't remember it, and it just popped in my head. It was Crysis 3.
Crysis 3 had riot shields.
You did that
right.
hunter mode or whatever, hunted or whatever that game mode was called.
Yep.
I remember people using
them. You'd rip the door off the pods and you'd use those as a ballistic shield. And those two were like they created interesting play styles, but I feel like it fit because that game's a lot more fast paced.
True.
Like it works in that, but Battlefield's so slow in comparison to other shooters. So I'm not really sure how this fits. Like, why are we getting riot shields? Like, where does this fit into the storyline with Battlefield? Like,
well,
like I mean, like you only get riot shields with police and SWAT.
Maybe it will be. You just confirmed the Battlefield police game, Tim.
Yeah, is this a precursor to Battlefield 5 Police Simulator? What's going on?
Give us handcuffs.
Yeah, we're just gonna start DayZing up in this bitch. We're just gonna start handcuffing and force feeding alcohol down people's throats.
What about the AA mines, which is an unlock for Naval Strike? And I heard somebody say that one of the maps at least had no mobile AA on it, which is a godsend. And
that would be
the
lovely.
Stingers are getting nerfed a bit.
I did see there was a post that Stingers are gonna get nerfed. I didn't see the damage models, the actual percentages to how.
I just want them to not flip the helicopter on its side.
That's the issue, and I know that they've been looking at that. Like originally, like that was not designed into the game. Like they were not supposed to do that much damage to where the helicopter actually does a 90 and falls.
Because that's the thing, because whenever I see Alan Kurtz, sorry Duncan for bringing him up, every time I see him talk about how the mobile AA is actually like the least used vehicle to kill air vehicles with or whatever, it's like, well, that's because nobody actually gets kills with those things. You know how hard it is to get a kill with a Stinger?
Yeah,
you flip a helicopter and it crashes. You get a vehicle destroyed.
Right.
But 8 people in the meantime jumped out of that helicopter.
Well, they either jumped out or they get killed in action. You don't
because they go down. Usually they jump out and get crushed by the helicopter landing on their head.
Sometimes I've never jumped out of. Sometimes I haven't. Sorry, sometimes never. Sometimes I haven't jumped out of the helicopter and I still got killed in action. So like,
because you didn't actually get killed. It's the same as if your pilot just flew into the side of a mountain.
Right. It's like you committed suicide.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So Duncan says Stinger Iglas now equal 35 damage. So they have decreased that.
But how many points flippage do they have now? Because that's what I really want to know. 35 damage sounds fine to me. So it takes 3 of them basically to destroy a fully.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, unless you have a full team of Stinger whores that are just camping, which I've seen.
And that's how it used to be. You know what? You shouldn't just have one guy be able to take down a helicopter.
No, and that's what you have right now. And so, like, when they took below radar out,
God, I want that back. Like, why in the world did they think that when it broke in BF3 that everyone was so happy that they decided just to leave it out in BF4?
I don't know. That was an amazing mechanic. So, like, it punished you and rewarded you at the same time. It rewarded you by getting away from missiles.
You had to be a decent pilot to fly low.
Right, and then if you were flying low, the punishment was getting killed by a RPG or a tank or anything.
And it still took you out of the fight because you had to bitch out.
So
and
there was
go low.
That whole rock paper scissors mechanics they talked about, like that played into it, like that worked out really well. So taking that mechanic out, I still don't understand. But
I still fly low when that's the thing. It's like a habit. Oh shit, I'm getting locked on. For it. And I go to the ground, and then I just. If
you fly too low, you fall over.
Well, that's what happens. Then you get hit by that stinger, and you can't recover, and you hit the ground.
You get disabled. You get flipped. There's no recovery. You're just hitting the ground.
So maybe they'll tweak that with the changes in the stingers. The AA mines. What are your thoughts on those? I've tried them. They don't really destroy. Even if you hit 2 of them, they don't really destroy the aircraft.
No, the problem I have with these things is they've changed it in the server patch. They actually, what they did is for engineers, they weren't able to carry AA mines and rocket launchers at the same time. So before, I had this problem where you had a team of engineers sitting on top of a roof with AA mines and then also stingers.
Right.
So you have 4 guys doing it. That's 3 launchers per guy.
I disagree with that, though. That's a cop-out to me. Why? For what reason other than we can't balance shit so you can't have them both?
I think the issue was there was too many rockets being locked onto the aircraft, and that's what I had. I had that issue. I couldn't get a helicopter out of the main because in Siege of Shanghai, you had a whole team of engineers sitting on top of a roof, and you couldn't get out of the main. You couldn't even get an attack helicopter out of there to destroy them because there's too many rockets.
Right, but I mean, the AA mines have a pretty limited range. They have a limited field of acquisition. And maybe they should have only given the engineer 1. I was surprised when I found out that you carried 2 of them. To me, it's one of those things. It's the same thing when they fucked with the kill cam because the one-hit kill stuff was bugging everybody. It's like, oh, this is too much. Now you can't carry both of those.
Right. No, I mean, like
you can carry a med kit and med packs.
Right. I mean, like the AA mines are more so designed as like a deterrent. They're meant to keep things away. They're just like the fly swatter. Just keep the helicopters
and
at bay.
And they only fire 1 and then they explode. So it's not like you can permanently place them there and they will just shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot.
Right. No, they're just a pain in the ass. So I really don't know. I'm not sure why they took away I mean, I guess they saw it as being overpowered, having the ability to have AA mines and Iglas at the same time. I'm not sure.
I'm tired of so much backtracking. Duncan just said that Below the Radar wasn't even meant to be in BF3. They stated that in a blog post, but it was in BF3. There was an indicator in the HUD telling you when you were below the radar, so you were quote-unquote safe. Mm-hmm. There's been so much of, oh, that didn't work. No, but we meant it like that because blah, 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 insert weekly reason here. And I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't think that people are going to use the AA mines as much as people worry about it. Because they're not... yes, they're going to use them on Siege of Shanghai towers on the roofs, but people do stupid shit on there all the time, which is why I don't play that map.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, that's all that's going on is nonsense on the rooftops. I don't think they'll really be that big of a deal in Naval Strike, so I guess we'll see. I don't know. Is there anything else? We've been talking for over an hour.
I think that really much covers a lot of the stuff that's happened in the past week as far as Battlefield stuff. I mean, I think we covered a lot of the stuff in Naval Strike. I mean, I'm definitely excited about Carrier Assault, just having the ability to kind of get back to the roots of Battlefield 2142 with one of those iconic game modes that we had. I think is great. We covered some of the speculations.
Some of that nostalgia.
Yeah, and that's what I'm really hoping for. I missed that. Like when I was watching the live stream, I had that excitement feeling that I've always talked about in other videos. I missed that feeling of being excited about a game and watching the live stream. It brought that sense of excitement. I was like, wow, I actually get to do something that I'm used to. Like I had a lot of time in 2142, played a lot of Tide mode. We played a lot of Tide mode together. So like that was exciting.
Yeah. So we'll look forward to that. I'm sure we'll have some videos on that. We're going to have, I think, the next video in the His and Hers series, and which I'm plugging again, but we're going to talk about favorite loadouts. We're going to have 4 videos, so we'll have one on our favorite Assault class loadout, and we'll compare it to what our favorite loadout was in Battlefield 3. So we'll actually jump into BF3 and get some footage on the channel from that as well, because that should be interesting. I know a lot of people still go back to BF3.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm hopeful. I think Naval Strike could be good. I think Carrier Assault mode could be good. I think they did take some shortcuts and that they did sort of dumb it down a bit, which I worry that, like you mentioned earlier, that this will be the first exposure to that game mode to a lot of people in the community.
Right.
And I worried that they're getting a watered-down version, and everybody's been saying how great this is. It's like you tell everybody this is the best scotch ever, you should try some, and then someone serves it to you with like 80% water in it. So I hope that doesn't happen. I hope we'll see lots of servers playing it. And, I know that it's got some people excited about Battlefield 4 again, so we'll see if that holds up. So
we'll see.
You can find everything about us at battlefieldpodcast.com. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/battlefieldpodcast. Pretty much if you put Battlefield Podcast into any social network except for Twitter, which is at
everywhere.
BF Podcast. I said social. My throat wants to stop talking, so I think I'm going to do just that.
It's probably a good time to go.
It's probably a good time, yeah. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out in the chat, and I have no idea what the hell happened half the time, but I appreciate the comments. Alan Kurtz needs to come on this podcast. Duncan put out the challenge right there. Duncan, I'm going to leave that to you to make that happen.
I tried. I actually talked to this man face to face in London, and I said, "Do you remember Battlefield Podcast? Because we used to talk to you." And he's like, "Yeah, I remember that podcast." I gave him the contact information. I was like, "Then you should come on the show." And he's like, "Well, those, our PR people are kind of hard to deal with," and that's what he left it at. He just stopped paying attention to me after that. I was like, "Well, I tried."
Yeah, we will see if we can talk to Dennis, because that would be a nice.
Dennis has committed to it, and he's in LA right now at GDC.
After launch, it will be a little bit more relaxed from.
Yeah, so when he comes back, we will be talking with Dennis Bronzeville.
And we will talk all about Battlefront.
Yes, Battlefront will be fun to talk about as well.
We'll check that out. We'll do the reunion podcast, and we will get all the same folks back from episode 160, and try very hard not to be grumpy again like we were last time, but it was very well deserved. I think some of it still is. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you again for watching, and we will see you soon. Bye. Guys.